Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Leighton Campbell, author of Your Happiness Equation. He is a guide to people on how to find happiness, keep it, and measure it with their own personal happiness score. Welcome to the show, Leighton.
Thank you, AJ. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Leighton. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll be talking about how one can optimize their happiness. In this backdrop, we'll have our conversation. But before that, let's understand a bit about your journey, your background, so that people know who they are listening to.
Sure. Well, actually, it's not welcome to India. It's welcome back to India because I was actually in India last year. One of the parts of my backstory is a project that I did with my brother where we wanted to see all 7 wonders of the world. And the Taj Mahal in India was the last of the 7. It kind of dovetails into my overall topic of happiness because one of the groups that I belong to is a group with my brother where we travel together, and that has brought me tremendous happiness and tremendous joy in my life. So going back a little further, I'm a father, husband, father of 4. I own a business. I've written 2 books, and right now the book that we're talking about is Your Happiness Equation, and it does the things that you mentioned, helps people to find happiness, helps those who have happiness to keep it. And then we also have a process by which they can measure their happiness and get a happiness score.
Right. So we'll talk about all this with you, and also about the book, about the happiness, Your Happiness Equation. But first about, you talk about this optimizing one's happiness. A lot of people are not happy. What is it that they do that they are not happy, Leighton?
I think what a lot of people do that are not happy is they're searching for happiness as an emotion, and the way to produce long-lasting happiness is not to search for it as an emotion, but it is to set up things in your life that produce happiness as a byproduct. So that actually involves a lot of hard work, and that is the trick. If you're looking for happiness as an emotion, you will probably become less happy. But if you search to set up the structures in your life that are going to produce happiness, then I think you're on to the secret of success. For example, one of the things in life that I feel have the ability to produce a tremendous amount of happiness are the groups that you belong to. So there are many people here in America, probably all over the world, that are very lonely. They don't really interact with anyone. They go to work, they come home, they are on social media or television. I definitely understand that is a situation a lot of people are in, but you're really not giving yourself a chance to maximize your happiness in the world if you're not connected to other people. So that would be an example of a structure in your life that you should have in order to optimize your happiness.
Right. So how do people get started? Because you talk about optimizing happiness. So you can only optimize when you have already got that happiness. How do you then get started on this path towards happiness? You must have done a lot of thinking. You have gone around a lot of travel, So I want to understand that from a man of wisdom.
Sure. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to be aware of it. You have to be aware that happiness is a worthy goal. It's not selfish. You're actually benefiting others by having a happy disposition. So that's the first thing, is to be aware that happiness is a worthy goal. Once you're aware that, okay, I need to be happy for myself, for my family, for my coworkers, for everyone in my life, then it's like, what is the next step? The next step in happiness, I kind of alluded to before, is to connect with other people. Once you've connected with other people intentionally, not just going through the world and maybe you meet people, maybe you don't, specifically go out and try and find people that you can connect with, that you can build community with, for the purpose of of course, helping them, benefiting yourself, benefiting the community in general. The next thing that you do is once you're part of that group, again, all of this is intentional because you're trying to build structures in your life that are going to produce happiness. You need to bring value to that group. It's not, you can't just belong to a group. That's not enough. You need to bring value to the people that are in the group. They need to see you as a valuable member, someone they can trust, someone that they like, someone that they enjoy their company, someone that brings value to them. Kind of like what you say in your introduction of your podcast is the people that spend time here, you want to make sure they get something out of it. When you belong to a group, people have to see you as being valuable. That is another thing that they do. This all has to be intentional. Um, there are many other things, the level of gratitude that you have in your life. There are some people in this world that have a very tough situation and it's very, very difficult for them. I would say there are the vast majority of people in the world that have many, many things to be thankful for. And if you can take time out of your life and think about those things, now, granted, your life may not be perfect. No one's life is. My life is not perfect, has never been perfect, and probably will never be perfect. But I find ways to be thankful for every moment that I have in life. And there are many other things, but I think the answer to your question is being very intentional about how you go through life, um, and setting up yourself for the ability to be happy.
Right. And how do I know whether I'm happy or not? Many times, many people do not know, and they just think, something to buy, and then perhaps they will be happy. So how do I know? You talk about the 7 questions needed to calculate the one's happiness score. Is it through that?
No, the score is kind of just a metric to kind of help you see where you're at. How do you know when you're happy? Again, happiness is not the happiness that I'm talking about is a sense of inner peace and satisfaction at the deepest level of yourself. Now, some people will misunderstand happiness and they'll think about it as the emotion of happiness. Here's an example. I do jujitsu. It's a martial art. It is so hard. I get beat up. Um, I get injured sometimes. Uh, I get humbled by people who are younger than me, stronger than me. It's a very incredibly difficult thing to do, but it brings me so much joy. At the end of a session, when I have done everything that I can do, I've learned what I can learn, I feel so much joy. A lot of people would think, well, why would I put myself through something physically challenging? Like, that's not going to make me happy. That's going to make me miserable. But it's not the case. I'm connecting with people who are like my brothers and my sisters. We're building together. We're learning. We're helping each other to get better. After the class is done, we sit around. We talk about the craziest conversations that you can imagine. It brings me so much joy to be in a situation like that. That that's how you know when you're happy. It's not because you have a feeling like you're going somewhere and you have a moment of bliss or joy that's momentary. You're building something. You're helping your family succeed. You see your children, if you have children, do something that brings you joy. That is the type of happiness I'm talking about. That's how you know you're happy. It's because you built these structures in your life that are producing the result of happiness.
Right. So, and how do I optimize once I know that I'm happy? How do I optimize it? And where do I take that? It's just like that superlative scope: good, better, best. How do I bring it to that level?
It's the best. Okay. Okay. Again, starts with awareness, but here's a resource for your listeners that they can go to now. It's completely free. There's no credit card needed. They don't even have to put in their email address. But if they go to yourhappinesseq.com, they can click on a link that says get your happiness score. They answer 7 questions and it will give them a score it's a 0 to 100 point scale. So how you can optimize it is once going through the questions, and I can go through the questions real quickly. It's
Yes, please.
1, are your basic human needs being met? That's a yes or no question. 2, do you belong to any groups that meet regularly and have a significant meaning to you? 3, on an A plus to F scale, now this is based on the American school system, but there is a breakdown in the chart to help you get your score, choose your letter grade if you're not in the American school system, so they can do that. On an A plus to F scale, what is the value that you bring to the groups that you belong to? 4, on an A plus to F scale, how would you rate your gratitude in life? 5, when something meaningful doesn't go as anticipated, negative impact on your emotions last short time, moderate time, or long time. 6, do you believe your life has a purpose? And then 7, if you do believe your life has a purpose, on an A plus to F scale, how would you rate your progress to achieving your purpose in life? And based on those questions and your answers to those questions, it will give you a score on a 0 to 100 point scale. Now, the score is just the number. It's not doesn't make you a better person or a worse person, but it gives you a chance to think about the most important things that contribute to your happiness and figure out, okay, which one of those did I score the lowest on? And what can I do now to improve that? Because when you're thinking about happiness, just generally, I want to be happy. Okay, well, where do you start? Like, it can be difficult for a person to know where am I lacking? What are some of the things that I can do, or what are some of the things that I'm not doing? And that will help you identify your areas of weakness, so that way you can focus on that. And I've talked to many people at this point, and just having that conversation with people where they start to think about some of the factors in their life that contribute to their happiness, and they start to think, you know what, I really could have more gratitude. I think that's something I need to work on, and that's the beginning of the journey.
Right, Leighton. So, have you measured yourself on those 7 questions?
I have, yeah.
Right.
Would you like my score?
I
I'll tell
don't
you.
want. I want to.
I'll tell
Don't
you,
want
sure.
your score. I want to understand your thoughts on. How should people understand their scores, whatever it is. It can be very good. It can be not so good. It can be very bad also. So that's the thing I want to get to.
Sure. So the most important thing is that you have to be honest with yourself. I mean, I wrote the book, I developed the equation, I wrote the score. I don't get an A. I don't get the highest level that you could possibly get, because there are things in my life that I need to improve on. And I don't know if it's the way that God made me or just the circumstances that have been in my life. For example, one of the issues that I have is how quickly I get over things when they don't go as anticipated. I wish I was the type of person that could get over things instantly. And I know people like that. My brother is a person like that. Nothing bothers him at all. If I'm honest with myself, it does take me a moderate time. I don't dwell on things for an extended period of time, but it's not something I can get over very quickly often. Going through this process of writing the book and doing all this research, I know I'm very aware now that this is something that I need to develop. I need to get better at. I'm not there yet. It's just something, that I'm working on. So I would say one of the answers to your question is you have to be honest, with yourself. Then, as I kind of mentioned on that example, is once you found what it is that you could possibly do better, the thing about giving yourself a score or a letter grade in this example is, if you gave yourself a C or like your average, the fact that you can categorize yourself as average means that in your head that there's something that you could have done to be above average. And if you know what those things are in your head, then you need to take them out of your head and start to do them in practice. So that way, when you reevaluate yourself in the future, you can say, well, I used to do that at this level. Now I'm doing it at a much higher level or a better level or an optimal level. And I'm glad you brought up the word optimize because I use that word intentionally. And I never talk about increasing and I never talk about maximizing because it's not about that. Optimizing means you have the right balance. There are times in your life where, in order to optimize your happiness, you may have to put more focus in one area of your life and less in another area of your life. And that may affect your overall score, but your score is just a number. Don't get hung up on that. At other times in your life, it'll be different. So we definitely talk about optimizing and not about maximizing. You do not want, please, and this is a disclaimer, do not go take your score and try to get 100. You will almost guaranteed set yourself up for a miserable, unhappy, time with that. Don't do that. Let your score fall wherever it may. Identify your area of weakness, and then start to think and start to trying to develop that.
Right, right, Leighton. A lot of people nowadays talk about self care. Does self care lead to happiness? Or does taking care of others lead to happiness? Sometimes that can be a lot of dilemma. And that is why I want to understand about this happiness. Where does is it in this bracket or is it in somewhere else?
Well, I think self care can definitely potentially add to your happiness. It depends on how you do it and you know the way that you approach it. I think helping others is a way of potentially producing longer term, more sustainable happiness. But let me go back to your question of self care. If your self care involves being in a community, then I would say yes, for sure. Um, some people go and work out at a gym. Some people have different activities that they do. If you go if with your girlfriends every Friday and you get your nails done, and that's what you do, that's a form of self care. I would say yes. That could be a huge contributing factor to your happiness. Um, if you do something in isolation by yourself that doesn't really help anyone else, uh, everyone is different. So I'm sure there's probably many people that could potentially impact their happiness. But I would say that probably wouldn't be the answer or the solution to happiness. It doesn't scratch our biological need to be in community, to help and to serve others. At the same time, there's nothing wrong with self care, and if you know, by all means, do that.
Right. Now let's talk about your book, Your Happiness Equation. What is this happiness equation? Help us understand that. And if I understand the book is coming out next year, early next year. So how do people get that book? And who is this book for? People who are already happy or people who are looking for happiness or people who are unhappy?
Okay. All right. Well, to answer your last question, the book is for a couple people. One is for people who want to find happiness. If you're trying to find happiness in your life, this would be a great resource for you. So that would be the first group of people that it would be for. The second group of people that it would be for are people who are naturally happy and don't struggle with happiness at all. And the reason why the book is, and I would say I fell into this category many years ago when I read a book on happiness that changed my life. And what that book did for me and what this book potentially can do for other people is it made me aware of how important my own happiness is. I took it for granted. I thought everyone was happy. I didn't know that I needed to protect my happiness. I didn't know that I need to be aware of it. I didn't know that I need to protect it. And thank God that I read that book, that I intersected with that information, because soon after that, I went through a very difficult time in my life. Went through a divorce, had many issues that were on in that during that time. But being aware that my happiness was important and that I could not infect other people with my misery and know that I had to get back to being happy as soon as possible, that was very crucial. So I would say it would be for those two people who are looking for happiness and people who are already happy and want to protect it.
Right.
In,
Carry
in
on.
terms of where they can go to find resources on or buy the book or find more information, they can go to our website at, again, yourhappinesseq.com. Not only can you get your free happiness score, anyone can do that. You don't need to buy anything to get your score, but you can also pre-order the book. The book is coming out the first week in February. So if your listeners are so inclined, love the support. I definitely feel it could be a beneficial to them, and that's how they can do it. The other thing that I would ask is, anyone in the world can do this part, and it doesn't cost them anything, is we talk about a lot of this stuff on our Instagram page. So that would be a great way for them to connect, to follow us. And that would be another way to help, be part of the community and help the project. And our Instagram is at Your Happiness EQ. That's our Instagram.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you, KJ.